we can wait until 6:10, 6:12. Yeah, perfect. Let me also share the presentation link so you guys can also play with it and get the links and stuff, start working it together. So give me just a second. All right. Right. All right.
Vale, gracias, amigo.
See. Okay, chicos. All right, guys. So we're about to get ready to start. It's about 6:10, and we're about to begin the presentation. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see.
This is gonna be a good one.
All right, let's get it. Let's go. So perfect. All right, so let's start with the presentation, guys. So today we're gonna learn a little bit about Python. We're gonna have a slide overview of everything that's happening and everything that you need to know when it comes down to the basics about Python. All right. So we're gonna start about, you always have to start with who made the language. In this case was Guido van Rossum. Sorry with the pronunciation. I'm not the best pronunciating names that are not like the ones that I know how to pronunciate. So sorry for that. And it was created in 1991. The language actually has been evolving ever since then. We're on a like 3.9 version. So a lot has changed ever since it started. What Python is, it's a high level language, and you might ask like, oh, I heard like low level, high level. And you might wonder what is that. So high level, it's basically how you abstract the language from the orders that you tell the computer. Python is one of those languages that it's not compiled, and it doesn't. You're not coding computer readable code. So it actually has an interpreter that does all the hard work for you in the back. So you don't have to worry about that. We're gonna start with the syntax. We're gonna go quick so we can have like a little bit of the pie game. We're gonna learn how to do Tetris and Snake game. So yep. So we're starting with the basics. Python actually, it's one of those languages that you don't use colons, and you don't use semicolons. You don't use a lot of the stuff that like you might be used to if you come from like C or Java. It's gone. Like it makes it simple. It makes it more sometimes even more intuitive. We're gonna learn about different components that make Python awesome. So for example, you can make variables without having to define the type. So you could say a string, which is an array of a group of characters, like in this case is 0, O, N, E, and this string, this array, this group of characters, right? It's being assigned to X. We have a simple example here. This actually should be on top. So you basically just create the container to store your value, right? And then like you can call it a number, you can call it a string. And I mean, you can call it, you can add whatever you want, actually. You can add like, and we're going to see later on, like, dictionary sets and, different ADTs and stuff like that. So, and you also have the Boolean type, right? There's some examples here that you could see, like, how would you have false and what would give you true. So if you have something like one of those containers empty, it's going to give you false. So this is how you would check like if something's empty and stuff. And you can check for like the different ones. So this is a tuple. This is a list. This is a dictionary, and yeah, and this is just twice. It's just so you get the point. So yeah, and yeah. So if you have something in there, it's going to return true if you don't specify a condition. Now we're going to see how you can specify conditions and get like the same true or false, but with your own like set of instructions. How do you want to check if it's true or false? So, well, you have different options. At least in Python, you have the basics. You know, you have your usual conditions, like your logical conditions for math, like if something's equal, if something is not equal, if something is greater, less than, or greater than. You know, the usual conditional mathematical logical conditions you'll see, and you've been learning, you know, your whole time and your math career. So, and if you haven't, you should. And we have the if statement, right? To call it in Python, you'll see that we have this indentation, and this is what I was talking about, the indentation Python. It's because you don't use the other stuff like the columns and like, you know, the brackets to mark where you're at. In Python, you do it with indentations. So it's very tricky because, you know, you have to standardize it. How do you want to do it? Usually like a tab or like a little spacer. It usually does it automatically if you're doing an IDE. If you're starting, you know, just use an IDE, make your life easier. So, and you have the if statement, and then you have the else if statement, right? And it's basically with the if statement, right? Like I said, you have different ways to verify conditions, and this will return either true or false. And you know, you can have different sets of instructions for the same scenario, right? So let's say you want to try if A is greater or if they're the same. So instead of just saying like if or, you can do if else, and then if else would actually do it instead of the previous condition. And so like that, you can have multiple conditions being evaluated on the same subject. Yep. So we have we're gonna touch a little bit on loops. So what is a loop? You wonder, how do I control a loop? What does it do? So basically, a loop is just a set of instructions that just keep calling themselves as long as the condition is true, right? So you basically, as we learned like before, you can have conditions like greater or equal, all the goodies. You can use them here, and basically, the set of instructions that you have under this while loop or for loop is going to keep on running until the condition is satisfied. If it's not satisfied, it's going to be one of those infinite loops that just keeps running and stuff. And you'll see them a lot, and they're fun. So just learn from them. So the while loop is just like the condition, and then the set of instructions, right? And then you can add whatever you want at the bottom. Actually, we're gonna learn in the upcoming one. Yep. So with the for loops, actually, and Python, they make them so useful. Like for loops in Python are so awesome because you can traverse, you know, a set of things like strings. You can traverse lists or tuples or like basically anything. Like you just put for, how do you want to call it, and what are you traversing, and it just does it for you. It's amazing, you know. That's why it's a high level, because like it's just abstracted for you, so it makes your life easier and like so pleasant, you know. You just tell it what to do and it does it. So basically for a for loop, you know, you just have the for keyword, right? You specify how you want to call what you're going to be traversing, like your container for each path that you're going to, you know, go around that array or that set of characters or strings or nodes or basically anything you put in there. And this is an example, right? So we have, in this case, we have a list. And in this list, we're traversing fruits, right? So we're traversing it, and we have an if statement. This is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. In this case, it's going to traverse until the array is empty, or whatever you're traversing is empty. Each string, each array of characters it always has like at the end this null characters, which is always telling the computer like, okay, whatever I am, it's done. Um, and basically, so with the fruits, right? What we're doing is we're doing the same. So with the little string, right? With the little container, we're just going one by one, tan, 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 tan. And once we get to the null character, like it's basically telling like false, like like remember like with the conditions, true or false. So it's just false, and then it stops, right? And then the same with a list. And this is why it's so cool, because if you have to do this in Java or C, it's not going to be 5 lines of code. I mean, this is like 3 lines of code, and yeah, it's super useful. So and this is how you break it. This is how you break a loop. Like let's say you already find your condition that you want to do, and you don't want to keep traversing the array. You want to keep traversing the group of list of whatever thing you're traversing. You just put a condition, and you can use the break, or you could use yeah, so you can use so you can use return, or you can use yield to stop it, or you can use yield to not stop it, but just get like one pass of the array. So yeah, like in this case, for example, we already learned how to traverse. So now it's about to combine everything, right? So we really learned like what Python is, what data types and stuff like can handle. How can you check if something's true or false? You really learn how to like loop around and stuff. And now we have to learn how to combine those things into like functions and classes. So first, you have to learn about scope. So scope, it's basically, this is a good idea of scope, right? So if you have a circle and whatever you have outside of the circle, it's only accessible. And if you can see my cursor here, like going around, basically anything you have here, right? It's just accessible to whatever is outside of the circle without, having to cross a line and stuff. So that's kind of like the key idea of what like scope is. For example, in this case, you can see that the x equal to 300, it's in the same scope that this function. So basically, this variable, this x variable equal to 300, right? It's basically it's like this function can access it because like they're in, like at the same like they're in the same the same circle. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the same. In this case would be like global space, right? They're in the same global space, and then inside of this function, I don't have one. Yeah, let me just I do. Yeah. Yeah. So inside of this function, right? You can have like you can have another. You can have f, or like you can call it like t, right? And let me just do it real quick here. So you can have, right, and then you can call it to 400, and so let me just refresh it. I don't know why it's not showing up. So right, so basically, there you go. So yeah. So in this case, right, so the x and the function here called my function, they're at the same level. You see, like they're the same and the same scope and the same circle that we were talking about. And so if you're trying to access it from anywhere inside of that function, you're gonna be able to. But let's say if you're outside of this function and you're trying to access this t, you're not gonna be able. Why? Because you are on the other circle. You're in the inner circle. You're in the local namespace circle. So like if I would be calling this t from outside, it's because it's outside of the circle. Like you see, you can't cross it, like kind of like when you're coloring and stuff. So you can't, like, you basically won't have access, and that's like the whole scope thing. So and then so now you learn about the scope, right? How you can access these different variables and these different data structures, right? So now you define the function. So you're defining something. In this case, we're just calling it my function, right? Just like you can call it whatever you want. You can call it dog, call it cat, whatever. So, and what you're putting inside of this, it's just like the instructions. What do you want to do? You want to print, you want to multiply, you want to like whatever, you want to create like a grid for like a Tetris, board and stuff. Just put it in there and it'll do it for you. Of course, you need more functions to do the other stuff, but this is the key component. Like you define it with the def keyword, and then you call it whatever you want, and then you have this parenthesis, right? In this case, it doesn't take any parameters, but you would put parameters in here, and we're going to learn about that in a minute. And these functions, right? They can either do stuff like print or multiply and then change it on somewhere in memory, or they can return, or they can yield. This is what I was talking about before. You can either return and stop it, or you can either yield and just like get one, like if you go back, like it would be like right where you left it, pretty much. Like like yeah, I think I have. So yeah, and then the namespace, it's basically how, like what I was telling you, when you have like different parts of your variables, and like like in different like in this case that you have, this one's are they're the same, so they're kind of like in the same namespace, right? And then because this one's in like a different, you see like it has like an indentation, this one's like a different circle, right? And so, right, so so you have this different so you have these different components, right? And then the key thing to get is like in Python, a lot of the things is abstracted. Like there's so much abstraction that sometimes it's like you don't you don't even know what's happening. It just does it for you. So those key things are because some of those things are just in the built-in namespace, which is all these cool functions, right? Like the key, like all these keywords, all these like, and that's why you can use these keywords and like functions and stuff, because like they're keywords and they're like reserved, like for you can use while, like those are in the built-in namespace, so like you can only access them. I mean, it depends if you have like right, you can change them, but because you can access the built-in space, right, namespace. So that's why like those like for loops and like while loops and print, those are in the namespace, right? And yeah, so we talk about the global when they're like in the same level kind of thing, and closing, it's basically like when you're like in a different, in this case, I don't have an example for that, but like when you're in different namespaces, but you're still inside of another function. And then global, we talked about built-in, we just talked about that, right? And classes. So now we learn about how to check stuff, how to go around stuff like looping. We learn about scope. We learn how to make these functions to do or return things for us, right? And we learn like how you structure them. So now we have to learn how to put all these functions that we're doing into one place, right? And then that place is called a class. So you can create a class for whatever you want, right? Basically, a class is just like a blueprint for what you're trying to build, right? And so inside of a blueprint, you put whatever you want. You can put a variable, you can put a function, multiple functions. You can put anything your imagination and the syntax of Python allows you to put in there. And it's going to just do it every time you call this class, right? And in this case, like a perfect example is like you can create a class dog, and then what kind of components would have, like what would it be in a blueprint to make a dog? I mean, you're trying to make it like like a virtual dog, So first you want to at least call it like what like creature that he's gonna be, like his kingdom or like his distribution, like I don't know biology. Like he's a canine, so so yeah, and so and you can define like if the name, you can define the weight, the height, and many more parameters, right? And then those parameters, because you're defining them, you can use this self keyword to access them and change them, right? So you can change them to to be whatever you want. So if we would have like some more here, like if we would have like more um basic like like if you want to have like the height, or or and this is the cool thing, like you don't have to specify what data type is. Like if you want to pass, you just put like the name, and it could be like a list of like whatever, so whatever the syntax allows you. Yeah, so you basically just get the right indentation. I think that's the right indentation. Yeah, if not, it wouldn't run. And then you basically just copy paste it. Like this is like the Python. It's like this is what you do. You just copy paste. So and then like you copy paste it, and then you can name it whatever. He's like, I don't know, like 5 feet. He's like a big dog. So or weight, whatever. He's like, I don't know. So then this will be a store in the H a container, right? So yeah, so now we learn about the classes, learn a little about the syntax. So now you can make these classes, and you can make these functions. So there's another abstraction now. So now you can put all of those things together, right? Because now you can check and everything. So now in the classes, you can put them in what's called a module. So these modules, you can have a dog, a cat, and you can call it animals, right? In this case, yeah. So in this case, right? So we are like going. So we're making like a group of classes or functions, right? And the way you would do this is like in your IDE, or you don't really need an IDE. Like you just make a file with like the .py extension, and it's gonna make it. This is a Python file, right? What like you can just make you just make one. Like so, if you like, I don't know, like you just. I mean, I don't want to show you my desktop, but whatever. I don't have nothing to hide. So you just go right, and then you just create like a little. You could create a new folder, whatever. You call it whatever you want, and then you just make a new, right? Like a new, let's call it like text document, and then you basically just change the extension, and yes, and then there you go. You just made a Python file by just putting like the py on it, and that's it. That's how you make your your module, and you can just access it. Right now I have it to be with PyCharm, which is the IDE that we're going to be using right now. But let's just finish this. And then so yeah, so like after you define these functions, right, into this, as easy as you saw, like you just change the extension module in this case right now. You just put all of this in there, and then on your on the project that you're trying to, and it has to be on the same folder in the same directory, or if not, you have to call it like differently. Yeah, I should show you how to do that, but so so the way you would call it is with import. So you just basically whatever you call the file, like in this case, I just call it like a weird name, like new text document. So I would have to be import new text document, right? Because I just didn't call it like a different easier name, like like Sivo. So now we can actually just call like Sivo, and we can just import it like that. And this is how you would use these functions inside of this module, right? Or whatever function you create, like dog, whatever, you would just like call the name of the module you imported, and you use the dot. Like the dot is the access operator. Yeah, I'm not so sure, so don't judge me on that one. So it's like you access functions and methods inside of the classes. Um, so by just like calling them, like you just call the whatever function name is and whatever parameter it takes. That's very important though, like the parameter, because if you put like a different parameter that the method or the class is expecting, it's not gonna work. It's just gonna crash, you know, like, and you're gonna learn about that. So and then, you know, you can also do it like you could just use these different styles too. You can just import it by you can just import it by calling it with the star. So like that, you basically call all the functions. Because you could either call all the functions at once, or you can call them individually. So like, so sometimes like these classes are really like really like large. They have like so many like lines of code and stuff like that. Like, and you probably only need like, I don't know, like multiply 2 times 2, and you're gonna get like the whole calculus book. You know, you only need 2 times 2. So you could get the whole calculus book if you just put like the dot in there, or if you specify, you could just from Vivo import, and then you'll say like the name of the function. Yeah. Or if your name, like in our case before, that it was like a weird name, you can just call it like a shorter um term. You know, like you can put like F, and then that's basically how you would be calling this instance of this module, right? And so the other stuff that I want to talk to you guys was about data structures. This is very, very important for you to understand. Like, this is like the really, really key things that you need to kind of remember. I mean, there's a lot more to remember, but you know, you'll get there. So basically, like a tuple. I mean, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, so don't touch me. Um, it's basically a sequence of items. I mean, you can just read it. Like, it's just key thing to remember is that it's immutable. Like, what does that mean? That it's just not going to change. So once you create this tuple, it's not going to change. Like whatever items, and I'm going to show you an example. Don't worry, it's not going to change, right? And you also have like different functions, because since it's a structure, that a sequence of items that don't change, so you can actually use that at your advantage when you're creating your algorithms and structuring your code. Um, so a list is basically the same thing, but you can just change it. So, you know, you can, you know, whatever your mind can come up with, like a list of things that you can change. And a dictionary or a set, right? So a dictionary or a set, they're basically very similar. And well, not really, but kind of. I should put it different. Okay. But you can call them with the same brackets. That's why I put it like that, because it's the brackets, right? That's how you call it a dictionary or a set. But the difference between a dictionary and a set, and I'll show you later, an example right now, it's that a dictionary has like a key and a value, right? So they go in a key value pair, and they're mutable. So you can change them, right? You can change the key, or you can change the value independently at the same time. However you program it, you know, you can come up with the code, you know. And then like I said, like these things keep changing. Like, you know, Python has been getting like some updates and like a lot of controversy around, like, you know, stuff changing. But you know, we gotta welcome change. So you know, so you can also represent it using unique values. Yeah. So the other thing is, with these brackets, you could use a set. This is really like, I highly recommend you to check out like the data structures of set and dictionaries are pretty useful. So set is like, you know, you could use it to avoid getting anything repeated, like, because you can only have like the same, like, you know, one of the items. So like if you have a set of numbers, you would only be able to have the same number one time. Like you won't be able to have like, you know, two of the same. And so this is the site it works. You know, like if you want to check out, this is today I'm going to show you. You can just go here to YouTube. You know, everything is in YouTube, guys. This video will be there too. So sign and subscribe. I always wanted to say that, sorry guys. So yeah, so basically, you basically just go to a YouTube channel. This guy, it's quite famous. Highly recommend. Not that one. Highly recommend you to check him out. Right? I mean, this guy too, like Corey. I don't know if you guys can still see on my screen. You know, this everything that we're going, like he goes in depth and he shows you like more examples. Just check him out. And this guy, Tim, I forgot his name, Tim, his he has his code here so you can play with it. I mean, you can watch the videos and how he explains it, like the whole code, or we're just gonna use it to illustrate the concepts that we just went over. And basically, what you do is like you just go to a video. I mean, this is as easy as it goes. Like you go to a you basically find a GitHub that you like and you wanna like practice machine learning, like you name it. You go to your GitHub, right? I mean, you can either copy like the whole repo. Sometimes you don't want to do that, or you can just copy paste the code. You click on it, and you like that. You scroll up, scroll down, copy, right, and then you open your ID. In this case, because starting, I love my ID. You're gonna use PyCharm, and that's basically like it's gonna be your shield and sword to go around like Python. And so yeah, so basically this IDE is gonna remind you your how to do your indentation. It's gonna remind you all these little things, right? It's gonna help you. It's gonna keep you, reminded of the little things. So always read the errors, right? And so for this specific project, right, we need to use one specific module, right? In this case, the random module, it's already like, I forgot where, like, I think it's, I don't know, I think it comes by default, like with the Python version. And if you don't know how to install Python, if you're on Windows, it's as simple as just literally just going to a Microsoft, you just go like Microsoft Store, and you just like, it's that simple. Like you don't have to do CMD or anything like that. If you're starting, just do it the easy way. So Python, right? And then that's it. You pick whichever version you want. I'll recommend the 3.7 because most of the code is 3.7 right now, and it works. So yeah, so you can just get it, and then like it's free, and you basically just install it, and yeah, there you go. It's already installed, so I don't have to install it. And then if you want to check, you could do it like you could just check on your programs, or you could just do if you want to do it CMD way, you could just do Python. You could just type like to see if it's already installed and just check what version you have. And in this case, I'm running the 3.7 version. And so, going back to our IDE, right, and the team code for Tetrix. So let's go over it real quick, seeing the things that we just learned. So what's happening here? So basically, the first thing that we looked is that we need this Pygame. So Pygame is one of those modules that you have to get, like you have to download. And in this case, right, because we have our trusty IDEs, it's like, so easy, right? So you basically just go to settings, and you just tell it like, hey, look, first of all, you gotta go to a specific option, right? And you're trying to get the Python in the interpreter. So you're trying to add your Python interpreter more modules, more libraries, more set of tools, like this Py library, it's very large. I'm going to show you how to, check out like the methods. You basically just Google it, and you check out the methods, what they have in there. So, you just go to plus, and, you just pick up, like, what do you want to do? You want an appearance? You can, you change the appearance, play with it. It's fun. So then you go to interpreter, and then you basically just, just add it, like, just tell it, I want another one. And then you tell it whatever you want. Let's say you want to do, I don't know, like matplot or whatever, or, you say, like, you just type whatever you want, and there's a lot, you can, a lot of plugins, a lot of little cool things, you see material, and like, these are probably like a lot of methods and a lot of things that you could use, but, you basically have to learn what these methods and these function and these modules have in there to just use them. But in our case, we're just using Pygame. So I already downloaded it, just to make sure it worked. So I already got it. So you basically just get the PyCharm. I should show you how to get the PyCharm. Just go to the PyCharm website, download it. You next, and then yeah. And then so once you get here, you have to do the module thing, and then you basically just like I showed, like just copy paste the code. If you get any errors, then you try it, And there is, you're running a game that you basically can get the code and you can modify it and, whatever you want. And I posted the links there. So if you guys want to play with it, go check it out. And let's see how this works. So what I would do sometimes, if you will read the GitHub. Like obviously you have to read the README. Like I said, like, look, I'm showing you everything about this code in this YouTube video. Just read the README. Sometimes it's good to read the instructions. And so yeah, so you go there, and then you have all these other documents that he's telling you, like, you need this, like get this, whatever. You need the Pygame. He's telling you what you need to download. And people usually do that, like some good developers, but some people just give you the code and you figure it out. So in this case, he's giving us all the resources. So basically, just get the code. In this case, we already did that, and we're going to actually go over the code. That's everything. Sorry. So yeah, so he does have, like, this is what I wanted to show you guys, because he does have this. Because he has this where he started it. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Let me just get this because he when he started that was actually pretty useful how he did it, and I gotta say it was useful. Like he came up with it. On his website, like the guy has his like nice website and stuff, and there you go. Okay. So, and this is something that you would do, right? Whenever you're starting your program, whenever you're starting like any kind of code, right? You want to start with the basic set of instructions. In this case, you want to start with the classes, right? Thinking about like, what is this code doing? Like, how do you program Tetrix? How do you make this happen, right? Like, what's happening here? So first you think about the problem, right? Like, what am I trying to do? After you already figured out what you're trying to do, you basically, okay, I have to get these blocks with colors to move at a certain speed. And basically, as soon as they get to this last element of this matrix, stop and, like, depending if the matrix is full, like, and so, you already like kind of like saw like the set of instructions, right, that you have to do. And then, so what do you do now, right? Like you already know, like you have to make them fall, you already figure it out, like you already know the Tetrix algorithm. So, okay, I already know what to do with the Tetrix algorithm, and so what to do. And yeah, so, oh no, I missed it. So now, the first thing that we start, it's like, in this case, he did it this way, but you could do it different ways. So you see, he's using these brackets. And if you remember from the presentation, what are these brackets? These brackets are lists. And you can go and find out all the methods and stuff you could do with lists. Lists are pretty useful because, like, as you see in this case, he's nesting a list inside of another list. So he has like a list of lists. And he doesn't even have to call it. He's just like S, and then just do it, That's how cool Python is. So if you have to do this in like Java, you have to do like C too. So, that's the cool level of high level languages. So in this case, he just started creating some global variables. And we talked about this, like the scope, right? Because they're outside, right? So everyone can use them pretty much. And we also, from Pygame, and this is, you basically, to learn about these functions, you want to just kind of like, go to their website and read about it. They're usually going to have like a nice documentation, about how to use their, their functions and their methods and everything like that. So there's a lot. It's a lot. Like every module will have a lot of good stuff in there. So it takes a minute to go over all of it. So if you want to check it out, just check it out. So after we learn about like what this, the init is always to initialize your in this case, our object, our instance of Pygame, and you were just creating different variables to hold different components of the Tetrix, right? And so as you can see, like you can assign different things by just calling, you know, the container, and you can just assign, you know, an operation. In this case, we're, you know, assigning to top level left the subtraction of the, you know, of these two other variables. And you can do, we're gonna see other stuff that we can do that are really, really cool. So, and as you can see in this case, what he's doing, he's using this list to create the shapes of the pieces of Tetrix. And he's using a list of lists. And as you can see here, he's also, in this case, he's creating inside of a list, right? He's creating a list of tuples, excuse my accent pronunciation. And this pretty much, it's creating immutable sets of three variables in there. And so in this case, he's just using it for colors. I don't know if you guys know about like the RGB. Well, in this case, he's just creating it, but that's because you're gonna see what happens. So coming up next. So, you know, in this case, now we're just creating, like, remember what we learned about the classes? He's creating the pieces of this class. And so you pass an object where you want to basically start working from. And we set up the limits of the rows and the columns. And basically, we use this init, and this is like really cool. The init on Python, it's, you know, this is how you do it. You always gotta Google stuff out real quick. You know, whenever you're learning, just keep Googling stuff. So init is just, there you go. It's to initial.
Se fue.
I think he disconnected by accident, or like his computer died. Oh boy.
I got a presentation.
Evan?
I actually learned a lot.
That's good, Alec. That's what matters most. Let's give him an extra 5 minutes. I believe there are some technical difficulties, of course.
So how's it been, man? It's been a while.
You can pause recording if you want to.
¿Qué pasó? No, Tony, everything has been pretty damn good, man. What about you?
Tired, man.
I feel
Too
you,
many
man.
projects.
Yo, grind doesn't stop, man. Never.
Not for the engineers.
¿Qué pasó, Dulium?
No, you can pause recording for a while. I mean,
You want to do a snake game? You go, you get it. I mean, in this case, like I said, you know, you are required to have Python 3 and up. And I see he's making it pretty. See, he's getting better. So, and this is how you learn too. You know, you learn how to make your own GitHub repos. Yeah, I'm just gonna finish it. You know, it's up to 7 at least because there's a movie time. So, got 3 more minutes, guys. So yeah. So and then, you know, in this case, you also need the Pygame module, and you need to have like 3 point and up on your Python, right? So same thing. Copy paste it. So basically, we'll just like, you know, get the code, make sure that you get it all, you know, don't want to miss anything, and then just copy paste. See, and then, you know, of course, you can start playing with it and have some fun and learn how to basically like modify it, and you know, you're just comfortable like getting code and working with it, you know. pretty fun too. I mean, some cool projects out there. And this was just like just a taste of what, hopefully we're gonna do upcoming, you know, later or in the future. So like machine learning workshops. And it's basically the same thing. You find the code, you understand what's inside of that code, and you make it happen. Like in this case, look how simple the we were doing the other one. Let's just finish the other one, explaining the like just getting an idea of how this code is working. So, and how he's using these data types. So, like we're about to run out of time, guys. So thank you for your attention. Whoever's still here, love you. Thank you. Yeah, so basically, we created all these methods, and we already thought about, like what do you want to call it? What is it going to do? What's happening in here? And you're specifying different things, like in this case, we're defining global. If you don't know what it is, this is a keyword, like if you have an ID, it will just, give you this beautiful statement of what it is and stuff. So you can just hover your cursor on top of it and it'll just tell you a lot of useful information, and you can actually get more information. So something I highly recommend is learn how to use your IDE. It can really become your best friend. So you can do a lot of stuff. If you're trying to change like multiple things at a time, you could just copy paste. I mean, I don't know if you know how you've done it before, and then you can just change all the same instances of that same variable, and you could just change it. And yeah, so you see, like we're defining the classes, we're passing different we're passing different parameters, and we have 1 more minute. And so so he definitely defined all the different methods. And then I wanted to show you how we implement that, right? So we would implement that. Sorry, because I think I probably have the other code in there too. So yeah. All right, let me just get it real quick. So yeah, so basically, you basically just get the code and make sure that you have everything, right? And then because I was showing you the other one. So once you already created all these classes and all these methods, right? You have to implement this. So how would you implement this code, right? So the way you would do it in this case is defining this main class, right? And he's passing all the different components, right? All the different containers that contain different things. Like in this case, like numbers, objects. Oh, and an object is just like something that holds like a lot of information, like, or a little bit of information, whatever kind of information you want to put in there. So you can put like complex data types or complex, combinations of stuff, or nothing, or you can put null. So yeah, so after we define it and we're using this the loops and like these if statements that we learn what they do and how they do it with the indentations, you basically just implement it, right? And the way you would implement it is by calling your constructor class, which is your main. In this case, he defined it as a main. And yeah, so you use the functions. Some of these functions, they come from the Pygame, and some of the other ones he's defining. Like in this case, wherever this event, it's from, if you want to check it out, just hover your cursor on top of it, and then you can learn where it's from. Well, yeah, event is like, yeah, it's from Pygame. So yeah, so, and then you just stop the rendering when you lose, and then if you win or lose, this is what you would display. And this is how you would pass like complex parameters. And that's it, guys. So thank you. It's already 7, so go watch a movie, have fun. Life's good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your attention and time.
Welcome, man.
Rob, thank you very much for this, man. This is to the no, Migs is gonna be the next great software developer of Amazon. So it's coming. That's it, bro. I appreciate it, man. It was awesome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.